how did you learn how to create safety for yourself? How did you go from being that woman who was counting steps to make sure that you're not enticing someone to do something to, let's say, presenting in the way you are today, very authentically and in your obvious selfness?
Honestly, the first place I had to start was even feeling safe in my own mind. Like that's where the prison lies. That's where all the stories, where all the narratives were. And so even feeling like I had the power to change those narratives was pretty crucial.
Yeah.
And then starting to actually recognize and build some awareness of, oh, I literally do not feel safe in my body anywhere. This isn't just when I go outside. It's amplified when I go outside. But even in my own home, I was married for a period of time. Even in my own home with this man I was with forever who was safe, didn't feel safe. Just didn't feel safe. I just never did. And so being able to identify that and then being willing to sit in the discomfort and the lack of safety and be willing to face my triggers, feel my triggers, go get help and support with that, go learn new things. And ultimately for me, what was the biggest game changer was getting into groups of other women, joining sisterhoods, you know, and then actually, you know, being in community and realizing I'm not alone. Like I've never have been. And I've just been in this like illusion of separation and isolation. And I think ultimately for me, it came down to committing that for me, in my truth and in my values, I choose freedom over comfort, compliance, and the illusion of safety. I'm not going to be safe just because I'm wearing something a certain way. I'm not going to be safe just because I did all of these preventative measures. Yeah. I'm safe if I choose to be safe. And if someone wants to take my free will choice from me, that's going to happen. And then I'll deal with that when I get there. But I'm not going to live in this constant state of terror.
It's such, I thank you for bringing this up and having this conversation. It's safety is such a hot button thing right now because for me, like my mother, and I think so many feminist mothers, hippie mothers, trained their sons to be safe in the way that the men they encountered in their lives were not. And so for me, I was that nice guy. I was the guy that the girls would talk to and tell all their problems to while getting fucked over by, you know, the captain of the fucking, well, I was the captain of the basketball team, at least as a senior. But like, you know, but like being in that energy, like how do we're in this place now where it's like, who creates safety? How do we create safety? What is the point of safety? The female body requires safety to be able to open physically, sexually in that space. And how can we liberate each other and ourselves to understand the collaboration that it really is? If we're really ending the battle of the sexes, it's like we have to know each other. And we have to be willing. I love what you said. I've got a homegirl, Veronica, if you're out there. I know I'm sending love to you. Another just fierce, ferocious mama from New York who just like, when guys catcall her, she'll just be like, yo, what's up?
What are your intentions here, dude?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and they're just kind of like, Because, and this is my point about, I'm creating a course right now, actually, a little plug here, called Conscious Pickup. And it is for men. No one taught us how to hit on women. No one taught us what it means in integrity to see a beautiful woman, go up to her and talk to her and have an exchange where no matter what happens, whether she's a no or a yes, you both leave having had a beautiful experience. And how we can actually, because again, so many men, we have to hype ourselves up or we take on that, yo, baby, what up in front of the friends so that we don't look and expose ourselves to be as nervous as we actually are, as unsure of ourselves, as not confident as so many men actually are. That's why, you know, so many guys do hide behind the muscles and the cars and the external derivations of value to shield themselves from that sweet, sensitive heart. You ever like meet little boys? Like little boys, like young boys are so sweet. Well, they're so sweet.
Yes, they
Allison
are.
Armstrong, you know, talks about pages, right? And they just want to please and they just want to like be of service and be in use. And there's something that happens to us that this culture does to us where you see with the adolescents where suddenly it becomes like, I have to protect myself from you. We were once best friends growing up and now you've got boobs. So like, I want you, but I don't want you because you're my friend. What the heck? It's like
the boobs changed everything.
Everything. Oh my gosh. But this is it, right? This is us. This is the humanness of us. And there's so much goodness in us. And how do we just continue to allow the sweetness to come forward? You know, I wanted to pitch it to you because you were sharing with me, as one of my colleagues likes to say, the issues are in our tissues, and the things that we don't work through stay with us, and they create the reality that we end up thinking is just our norm. But really, it's the conditioning of all the different things that have made us, which isn't really us, but it's a whole thing there. But you had really bad sciatica.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in your own words, and you can pitch this here, but you said it was a direct result of internalized and therefore expressed hypermasculinity and your propensity in your feminine to self-betray.
Yeah.
I wrote it down because it stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
You wanna jump into that?
Yeah. So, gosh, there's like so many different angles I could take this from, but just to kind of get to like the most immediate future, my former partner, he was a bodybuilder. And just to like, this is a good time to kind of like say where I come from. So,
Please.
in my own experience of myself, I was really fragmented, really disintegrated. The core of like me feeling like I was supposed to be here and I had a mission and I had a message, like that was always there.
Yeah.
But I was, I'm an intense person. I have really intense like energy. My presence can be intense when I'm like focused and passionate. It can feel like a fire hose to people. And I didn't understand that as a little girl, and neither did anybody else. And so instead of like having this safe space to be fiery and bossy and like all these things that I think confident women have inherently, I just got beat up and yelled at and grounded and isolated. It was like contain and contain, contain. The visual I always get is trying to break in a wild horse. That's just how it felt. And one day I just submitted and I forgot I was a wild horse and I forgot I was this Black beauty. And so I just, walking around my 5-foot pen, getting fatter and fatter and more miserable. And I can show this before picture.
Yes,
yeah,
please.
I was just speaking at an event, and I always love to show a before picture because if you look at me now and you don't have context for me, you're like, oh, she just walked out the womb feeling like a fucking badass, she's Cardi B,
Covered
whatever.
in tattoos.
Yes, I was born with these tattoos, they're birthmarks. So I love to show a before, and I was telling him the thing that caught me about this photo in particular, besides that it doesn't look like me, is that I took this photo because I was deeply excited about having a 3-row seat on a plane by myself. That is one of my like, the universe loves me and I'm chosen moments. A silly little thing, like when you get a really good parking spot. And this is a picture that I took of me being excited at this time in my life, and I think maybe you can see it. Zoom in. Okay, you have longer arms. Yeah, that's me excited 7 years ago. Look how happy I am. That's the broken horse right there. Yeah, I'm really happy. Give me more hay. That was kind of the vibe. And I was living a checklist life. It was like, these are the things that you do to be successful. These are the things you do to get love. These are the things you do to be seen. And I did all of them, and I was doing all of them well. I'm always someone who got A's in things and awards in things, and it was getting me nowhere. And I was so freaking miserable. I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to speak up. I was afraid to be rude. I was afraid to make messes, just scared, constantly scared. And I really, really relied on this like tough outer masculine, I can do stuff for you, wounded mother energy.
Yeah.
And I ended up being so fragmented. I had so many groups of friends, not because I'm likable, I'm not saying I'm not, but because I was being so palatable. And I felt like, well, this group of people let me express this part of myself. So I'm going to go express this. And then I'm going to go over to this group and express this. And it just got to a point where I couldn't handle it anymore. So let's fast forward to like, I don't know, 3 years ago. So I got out of I was married. I got out of that marriage in 2019. That was my first burn the ships, choose myself moment. But as we know about choosing yourself, it's a practice and you got to keep doing it over and over again. And I was like, I did it. I'm free, right? Misconception of the ego. And some, bodybuilder guy thought I was hot. And that was like, I met my husband when I was 19, got married when I was 21. And I was like, oh my God, guy with muscles thinks I'm hot. Wow. So then I started going to the gym and I started taking care of myself, and that was all really good stuff. But then at some point it turned into like, I need to look a certain way to be worthy of this person. I need to look a certain way to fit into this group of people. And it was really like this tiny little voice, and I didn't really quite catch it because I do enjoy the process of that. I did feel better. I do prefer my body fit. That is just generally how I feel about myself And also there was like this just little, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough. And it was like showing up in how I was treating my body. So then fast forward to my former partner, who's after this previous guy, and he's like an even bigger, more ripped bodybuilder. You know, gay men and women are like, oh my God, he's so hot. You know, he has like an OnlyFans and he gets a lot of attention and all of those things. So then I was like seen on his very public 100,000 plus Instagram page. And I was like, noticed I was a little softer and I didn't have defined muscles and I didn't look like his former girlfriends who were like, you know, competitors. So I started lifting really heavy and eating a lot of food. I just kind of just slid right into his lifestyle. And now just to pause there, where I go into the self-betrayal piece is I do believe that the body stores energy, you know, and if we are not feeling things, if we're doing things to it, you're going to hold yourself in a certain way that's going to,
it keeps the score.
it does, it keeps the score. The body keeps the score. Best book title ever. And I have this little manual from Louise Hay called Heal Your Body.
My dad was just talking about that book. I grew up with that book.
Yeah. So I this didn't click with me until much later, but when I went to go look at like, you know, lower left back pain, sciatica in particular, it's self-betrayal. So anyway, in this relationship, besides the fact that I was treating my body in a way that was, you know, betraying it and like what was truly good for me, I was also constantly betraying myself in this relationship. I was always just doing what he wanted to do so I could keep his interest, so I could keep him desiring me instead of his attention going to all these other people who were giving him attention. And long story short, the pain started to get so bad. I thought it was muscular at first. So I was treating it like it was muscular. And I was doing this, like, I can override my pain signals pretty easily because I'm so trained at doing it. So I would be in pain and I would be like, no, I haven't lifted in 24 hours or 48 hours. I'm going to lose my muscle. My blood flow is going to go down. I'm not going to be cut. So I would go into the gym and I would push past the pain. You know, there's all these things in gyms that are like, pain is weakness leaving the body. If you're not throwing up, you're not doing it right. And I'm in there like, yeah, that's right. I'm not throwing up. I got to keep going. So I just kept lifting until one day I'm like hobbling around. It's like a Sunday morning and I go sit on the couch and I just sat there and I was like, fuck, my back hurts. And the second I admitted that, all the pain was like, droop. And I started bawling. I was like, holy fuck, I'm in so much fucking pain. Oh no. And it just like, it just all crashed down on me. Well, we ended up going to Zilker Park later that day to hang out with our friends, Melly and Matt being there too. And I'm limping because I can't fake it anymore. Like I just don't have the juice in me to do it. And Melly's like, Mama, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm hurting so bad. And I tell her the story. She's like, you know, she used to be practicing physical therapy. She's like, why would you not talk to me about this? I was like, Melly, I wasn't even admitting to myself I was in pain. So I wasn't even thinking about that, much less thinking about your job, much less thinking about I could ask for help. Like that doesn't happen in a hypermasculine space. You do everything by yourself. You don't admit pain, blah, blah, blah. And I, you know, it took me 2 years to actually really do something about it, to be totally honest. I was taking Bear. I was like kind of sort of stretching. I just wasn't really actually taking care of it until post my breakup when I was in my emotional basement. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much masochism in here. We need to clean this up. And it was through polarizing so hard into such an intense level of masculinity that was so toxic for me that I was like, oh, good Lord, I am so disconnected from what it actually means to be feminine for myself. I was being feminine for a man. I was being feminine for attention. I was being feminine for the aesthetic.
What does it mean to be feminine for you, for Liv?
That's still so unfolding. And, you know, so much of my experience of the feminine is transformation and rebirth and, you know, the void, like constantly going back into this space where it's like, it's a new day. You can write a new story. What does that mean? Yeah. But right now, for me, what it really, really feels like is reconnecting to this powerful force. We all have it. And if you look at biological womanhood, if you look at, you know, the fact that we refer to the earth as Mother Earth, it's like this source of infinite creation. It's a portal to the ether. It's this power that just, there would be no life on the planet without it. And I just keep looking at how much we've created a narrative on both sides of the fence that it's weak,
Hmm.
that softness is useless, that emotions are a waste of time, and that if you're going to be a woman, it needs to be in a specific role. That if you're going to be a woman, it automatically comes with a narrative of victimhood. So for me right now, the feminine is like, it's power. It's just pure raw power. And that power being this thing that doesn't need to be talked about. It doesn't need to be imposed on anyone. It's just
Yeah.
this like thing that I sit in when I feel like I literally can do whatever I want to do. I have that choice. I have those options. And just knowing that that's true for everybody, and trying to like just reflect that to everyone, meet them where they are, reflect that to everyone. I always think of the feminine a lot like water. You know, it's like I can fit into any container I want to, and I can do it however I want to. I have access to everything. I have no idea where that's going to go from here, but that's just like where I'm feeling like this. I don't want to call it a root per se, but it kind of feels like a core sense of what I think the feminine offers everyone. It's just like pure creation energy.